Okay. Good evening, guys. Today is web session 2. So yesterday you would have been looking at a lot of interesting topics like dev tools and network tab. You would have went to application tab and there you would have seen very cookies and much. So yeah, today is yet another very interesting topics. So I'll be explaining about MySQL. So what is MySQL, and I'll be explaining about how MySQL works and basics of MySQL. Basically, how to query. So for instance, MySQL stands for the SQL stands for structured query language. So basically, there will be query, right? So I'll be explaining how to query to the MySQL, which is a database management system. So next, I'll be explaining about web security tools. So what is web security tools? It's something that is very cool, and some you can think of them like a big coders who made it so that we can use to exploit things in web. And at last, I'll be explaining about PHP. So I think most of you know what is PHP. If not, PHP is a programming language which is widely used in web. So yeah, starting ahead, what is MySQL? So MySQL, you can see that dolphin logo, which is very fancy. And yeah, so what is MySQL? So MySQL is an open source DBMS. So what is open source? So basically, think of open source like a, how can I say? So you have a recipe for some food. So you want it's very tasty, and you want it to share it in online so everybody can use it. So what you do is you shared it in online, so everybody tried and everyone liked it. And what they did is so they had some specific changes in the recipe which made it even more tastier. So that is like taking your recipe and changing the recipe so that it can what do you call it can taste better. So that is what open source is. You push a code or like a program, everybody can see, they copy it and they modify it and they say that like this line of code can be better. So like that you can get updates and you can like make it more efficient. That is what the whole point of open source is. So a git, you might have known git, which is a version control system where you can use it to like what can I say, like you can use it to control the versions, and like you can roll back and you can update and you can get updates from strangers. Yeah, very good. It's very interesting. And MySQL is very fast, reliable, and scalable. Yeah, MySQL is very fast, and MySQL is very. You can use it for both small and large. Lot of big companies use SQL because it is very fast and reliable. And MySQL supports Windows across all platforms. So, what is this database structure? So what is a database? Let me say. So think of database. So you have lot of books. So you go to library, everything is arranged, right? So you can go to a specific section and you can take whatever you want. So here in database, it is very organized in a way like, so there are sections. So initially you have lot of users. So let's say I have user one, user two, user three. Everybody can see the database, but not everybody can access the database. That would be a issue, right? So a person have like a personal data stored in a database, and the user too who can see, if you can see that it's a security issue, right? So you can access and manage roles and permission to a specific users, and then the user can see the databases and access it. So here in the database, you can see this database one and database two. So inside the databases, you will have tables. So if you are talking about a relational database management, so it is basically will be tables. So you know what is a table looks like. Yeah, this is what a table looks like. You'll have a header and value, key value pairs and columns and rows, many things. It's basic. It's basic idea. Table is a table. So yeah, like that you can have multiple databases. Under the multiple databases, you can have lot of tables, and in a database management system, you can have lot of users as well. So that you can give roles and permission to different kind of users. For instance, you have an admin user who can modify everything in a database, who can modify any value in the table, like that, who can delete a user, delete a database, because he's an administrator. And you can have a normal user. So normal user one, normal user two, and they can only access the data. They can't modify it. You can set it up like that as well. So moving ahead, we have structures and basic MySQL queries. So let's start by creating a normal database. So how will you start it? Create a database. So You can pull up SQLite online, or you can just try it on, like if you have MySQL server like running in local, or you can just use this. You can just go here and you can just type create database, whatever you want. For this, I'll be creating InCTF. And if I execute it, okay. So like that, you can create a database. And then you will be having lot of, you can create tables inside the database. So here you can see there is already a demo table inside this database. So let's create another table. I'll say create table and in CTF, and I'll have like CTF and column name. For example, I'll have user with varchar. Varchar is basically just what do you call string? Just basically string, and you can specify how many characters that you can accept. So next, I'll getting password. Whatever password and same type varchar, because password is a string, and I'll be expecting it at most of 15 characters. And then I can in the query. Okay, if I run it, I can see I have created a new table called InCTF. So here I have two columns, one being the user column and another being password. Simple, right? You can create whatever you want. If you want to create more columns, you can add comma, and you can go down and you can create more columns and more values or whatever you want. Simple. Next, how to insert into this. So basically, you have a table or a what can I say, a box which can hold data, right? Now what do you want? You need to go to a store and buy some stuff and put it inside. Or maybe in this case, you want to put some values into the table. So now I'll be putting some values into this table. So how do you put values into the table? So here you can see the syntax, which is insert into, which, which is the query that we will be using to inserting the value into the table that we have created. The table name is InCTF. So let's do that. Okay, my bad. Insert into InCTF. Now we have table. So let's assume we have a lot of columns, right? So inside the box that I said, inside the box, you have a lot of what do you call little boxes or small boxes where you can organize inside there. Think of it like that, which is our column inside the table. So now I need to say, where I can put the values, right? So let's say I have a two small box inside the box named InCTF. Now I have to mention where I am putting, right? So first I'll be saying that inside the big box InCTF, there are two another small boxes called user and password. I'll be putting first value into the user and second into the password. Now I have mentioned where I am putting. Now I have to say what I am putting, right? So now I'll be mentioning what I am putting using the values here. So now I have used values. I have to open the brackets and mention what are the values. So for the user one, I'll be putting my friend's name, Rohit. And then for password, I'll putting secure password. Simple, right? So now if I execute this query, basically I have put two values separately into two boxes inside a big box, or the table, two columns inside a table. So let's execute this. Okay, now okay, so it is just the SQLite compiler. It is not how it works in MySQL. But since I'm using this SQLite online, you might be seeing some errors or issues, which is not actually an error in the MySQL, but it's an error in SQLite. If you do this, use double quotes or single quotes in SQL, MySQL, there won't be any issues. But since I'm using SQLite, it is not allowing me to use double quotes. Simple. So now I have executed that. If I go to the, okay, how can I see what and all values are inserted or what and all values are in the table? So you can use something called select statement. So which is what I'm going to do next. So select statement. Now I need to know what and all are there in the table. So what I can do is select star. Basically, asterisk means everything. Star means everything. So what I'm saying is select all and from. From where? From I created an InCTF table, right? From InCTF table. Now if I execute this, you can see the row with secure password is here. So now basically what it means is select, take from the box, take everything from the box, take everything from the box named InCTF. Simple query. So now if I have multiple values, for example, let me edit this. Okay. Okay. Here I need to add one more value. Let's say I'm adding Karthik and insecure password. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. Now if I have executed it, if I again execute the select all from statement again, now I have two users and two passwords. If I want to check for a password, I only have to get only one user, right? So how can I do that? To specifically get one user, I can do something called var clause. So what I can do is select all from InCTF box or table where username or user is equal to Rohit. So now what happens is, what it's basically saying is select everything or take everything from the InCTF box where the column or the small box has Rohit. So let's say I'm executing this statement. Okay, again, it's something because of SQLite. I'm pretty sure I did not do anything wrong. Okay, so this is the basic syntax. I hope you guys understood. I don't know what SQLite Online is doing. Okay, I'll be moving on to next. Or maybe it's because I have to be equal to. Okay, it's because I did not leave a space after that. So now you can see the only column that got selected is Rohit with the password user. Password secure password. Now I have, even though I have two users in the table, I can specifically point to a column or sorry, specifically point to a row and I can get that value. So let's say now I only want the password. So because if I am writing an application, you would want to like make a user login. So where you can get the password, right? Simple. So after you get the password, you'll compare with the user password that you get from the client side and you compare it. If it is matching, then the user is legit and user what we are will log in. So basically, if I need to only select password. So you can specify columns here instead of asterisks, which means get everything from the box. Now you're saying only take the small box called password or the column password and output whatever in the password. So now you can see the user column is completely gone. And now you can only see the password, which is secure password. And now I can compare it easily and authenticate the user. Right. So moving on. Next, we have the update statement. So what is update? From the update name itself, we can just to update the values in the table. So what we'll be doing is we'll be changing Karthik's name to Aravind or my name. So how can I do that? So basically, let me read out the syntax. So basically, it's update or customer, or in our case, this in CTF, which is our table, and we are setting the values. So value for the column name, contact name, which is equal to that name, and so on so. So we'll be doing that. So let's say um, now I can do update what in CTF, which is the table, and set what set the user name. User is equal to Aravind. And now I need to specify where to specify. If I do this, you can see the whole table will be updating. So I need to specifically point out to a single column or single row where the value has to be changed. So where the current user is equal to Karthik. Now if I execute the query, now and okay, I can't see anything because I haven't selected everything from the table. Now I have to view the table. So if I do select all from InCTF, which is our box. And now if I execute this, you can see the Karthik has been changed to Aravind. So this is how update statements work. Okay. Next, going ahead. Next, we have delete statement. So we have something called CRUD: create, read, up, update, and delete. That is basic operation in databases. So here, what we did is CRUD, create. Initially, we created a database and table and read. We selected everything from the table, which is read, and just now updated. And what is next? We need to delete something from the table. Now we will be deleting. So how to delete? So it's very easy. If you want to delete everything, you can just do sudo rmrf. I'm just looking. You need to do delete. Okay. You need to delete, and you need to specify the table. Delete from table name, which is InCTF message. And delete from table name. If I do this, it will basically completely remove everything from here. But here you can see we are using something called var class. So which basically says you need to delete, or like you need to take out the value or take out something from the box called InCTF, where the small box contains this value. So I'm saying delete from InCTF, okay, where the user is equal to Aravind. So now what I'm saying is delete or remove from the big box InCTF where the small box contains Aravind. So now if I run this, basically I can't see anything because I need to select everything from there. So I'm executing the select all from InCTF query, which you can see I am only able to see Rohit and secure password because Aravind got deleted from the table. Simple. Going ahead. What is drop? So basically drop is just to drop a table or a database. So now we have the InCTF table, right? So I say I don't want this table. For some reason, I'm going to delete this table. So what I can do is I can delete from delete database, whatever the database name is in here. In our case, which is InCTF. And if I execute this query, you can see the table is here. And if I execute this query, okay, sorry, my bad. Which is not a database, it's a table. Okay, syntax. Okay. Oh, my bad again, which was drop statement. My bad. Okay. So drop table InCTF will basically remove the InCTF table. So you can see the InCTF is not removed. I would not be able to drop the database because SQLite will not allow me to create a database or anything. So I will not be able to drop the database. Next. Next, basic operations. You just have seen what are we going to, like what we have done till now. Now we can combine this whole thing. We can combine the whole things to create a meaningful application or a meaningful database. Here we are creating a students table with two columns or two small boxes called name and roll number. Roll number. So next we are inserting the values into the column, which is BIOS and 01. So which is the name and the roll number. And if I do select all from student, you can see it is outputting the value that I have inserted into it. So this is a meaningful operation or basic operation in MySQL. Then what is order by keyword? So order by is basically to order or like arrange or sort. You can call it whatever you want. The basic idea here is to like arrange the items in ascending or descending order. So what I can do is I can show you this. So we'll do the whole operations again, but this time we'll be creating a table with a ID or whatever because integer values. So it will be easier for you guys to understand. So let's go to the starting and we'll edit this create table. Okay, here instead of password, we'll be having something called roll number in roll number, which will be of type integer. So there are a lot of types in MySQL, for example, integer, double, or float, or varchar, or just string, char, you name it. You can go in online and just type MySQL data types, and you can find a whole lot of things. Blob is basically to store binary big data or like image files or things like that. So yeah, roll number int. So now basically I have two columns, two small boxes, user with the data type of varchar, which is basically string, which will only allow up to 25, and roll number of type integer. So I have two columns. Okay, now I'll be executing it. Okay, okay, let me see. I'm trying to do int. Okay, now it creates. So SQLite is hardly. Next, we can see I have created this with one int and another one varchar. So now what we'll be doing is inserting values, right? Obviously. So let's edit this insert. So I'll edit. Okay. Edit this. And here I'll be inserting an integer since we specified integer. Row it will be one. Oh, my bad. Password, right? Password is no longer there in the table. So we'll specify the roll number. Yeah. So now if I execute it, okay, my bad. Again, SQLite issues, single quotes. Let me put single quotes, and then I run it. Oh, my bad. Single quote issues. Okay. Now if I run this, it will get executed. And I need to add more users, right? So that I can show you how order by keyword. So now if I go to row it and I make it relevant and with a roll number 2, and now it got executed. Now let's select everything from that. You can see we have Aravind with 2 and Rohit with 1. So let's edit the select from statement with order by keyword. So you can see here, I am executing the order by select all from people order by, which means order by 3 is just meaning that the third column order it by. Yeah, it just orders everything by the third column. Third column. So now let's say I am doing that. Okay. Let's say I'm doing it by order by 2. So which is our second column and execute. Now you can see it ordered it by 1, 2, but you will not be seeing it because it's already ascending. So let's use the keyword called, disk, which basically means descending order. So now you can see the second column is in descending order. So that is how the order based statement is. So next up we have comments in SQL. So very important thing. So what is a comment? So comment is a piece of code or like piece of text in a code which specifies or like allows us to understand how the code works. But in this case, we'll be using this comment for something more interesting. You'll be looking at it in future slides or something. So let's say what is comment. So comment are used to explain the section, obviously. So it's basically you go if you open up a big code or like structured code, you can see a lot of hashtags, slash, which is just the syntax for each programming language is commenting. So which is basically used to say, let's say I am creating an application or a calculator, which I am using it to calculate some values. So let's say I am creating a function called calculate. So I need to if another user or like another programmer needs to modify my code, he needs to understand what is happening in that code or like in the specific line. So we programmer the programmers what they do is they just put the hashtag or like commenting whatever the syntax for that. I'll be explaining the comment of MySQL syntax for comment in MySQL now, which will be saying that what is this calculator function doing. Okay, let's look at what is it. So here we are using the select all from InCTF order by 2 disk, which basically gets the all values in the table in the descending order by with reference to the roll number 2, roll number column or the second column. Okay. Now what we'll be doing is let's say I need to say that this what it is doing. I need to say, or like I need to make the another programmer understand what is this line of code doing. So I need to say, this is executing and executing, or like this is getting the values stored or something like that. I'm explaining this completely. And if I try to execute it, obviously I'm going to get the error. So what can I do? I can comment it out so that a user can see. So what I can do is I'm going here and I put double hyphen, two hyphens. So now if I execute it, it will execute properly. And here you can see this two hyphen are basically the syntax for commenting in MySQL. So if I commented out, so this is basically if the interpreter or the whatever the program that sees this code and executes it will think that whatever comes after this two hyphen are basically not a code. It is just a text so that we humans can understand what is going on. So moving ahead. Okay, moving ahead. Union MySQL. Okay, so union in MySQL. What is union? So by the name you can guess it's union of something. So I hope you guys would have learned something called union instead of right for the higher classes. Else, fine, I'll be explaining it. Union. So union operator is used to combine the two results. So what do you mean by combine? So let's say I have two queries. For example, I have this select all from InCTF order by two descending. Okay, and let's say I have another table called InCTF2 or BIOS table. What I have to do is I need to combine the two results into one result. So since I don't have the BIOS table, or else I'll create it right. So let's say I'll create the table BIOS here. Create table. Okay, create table BIOS. And with username, password, or username, roll number with the integer. So let's say integer. Now I am executing it. And you can see I have the BIOS table here. So now let's insert values into this. Insert into this. Insert into, what is this? Insert. So here, in CTF, instead of in CTF, we'll be using BIOS. And save. Here I'll be using Karthik and first value and roll number, basically. I'm executing it. Now it would have gotten added. And second user, okay. Second user would be, who can you, okay, something, someone, someone with roll number 2. And okay, let's see what is in the BIOS. So we can see we have Karthik and someone in the BIOS. So let's execute it and we can get both of the BIOS table query and the InCTF table query in the same one. So how can I do it? So let's say I need to do InCTF and I need to get the ascending value of the BIOS. So how can I do? So the basic syntax for union is union select whatever that and then select that. I guess it's easier. Let me say select all from InCTF order 2 and union select all from BIOS. So it should basically give me this. Okay, my bad. Now you can see the both table result is combined here. So Aravind Karthik Rohit someone which is from INCTF and BIOS are combined. So basically union does what it does is combines the two queries into one result. Simple. So you need to note something here in union state, union select. Let's say I am selecting 1, 2, which is basically just 1 and 2, literal 1 and 2, which will also work fine if I try to do. But the problem here is if I let's say if I have more than one, let's say trying to select 1, 2, 3, which will give me an error called the left hand and right hand number of columns did not match. So in the union, one issue is you need to have both side have the same number of columns. Then only the union will work. Thank you. To make it easier, let's say you have two boxes and you need to put everything into one box. You need to know like organize the things, right? So if you have something which is not fitting in the box, you can't just take it and put it in the random box, right? This is basically what union select means. You need to have both boxes having the same number of columns. Okay, going ahead. Web security tools, the interesting topic. So what is web security tools? Tools, simple. Security tools are security tools, which we can use to test the application or like exploit a application. So in this case, we'll be using to exploit the web or websites. Before we look into the websites or tools, I have a small challenge kind of thing, which will I be explaining, or like it's a small SQL challenge, SQL injection challenge. Okay. Okay. So SQL injection challenge. So you can see, okay. So I'll be explaining the basic exploit, and then I'll be explaining what is this SQL injection thing and how is it happening. Okay. So this is a normal application. You can see login, register, and things. So simple, right? So I'll be registering a user called test.test.com, whatever, and a password of 12345, and I can basically register, right? And now I can log in. Test and 12345, which basically logs me in, and I have the account number and balance and things like that, and transaction IDs and things. Okay, so basic bank application. So you can't exploit it. No, you can exploit it. That is what exactly I'm going to show right now. So I just logged out. So let's say I'm adding something like cost this, or like I'm trying to log in as something which will just obviously give me 401, which is just unauthorized status code, and I need to try logging in again. So what I can do here is I'll be explaining thoroughly what is happening here. The next slide, or like next. So let's say I need to log in as admin. So basically there will be admin user to moderate everything and see what is going on, right? So okay. So let's say admin, like I'll be explaining what is going on here, and then I'm commenting out, which I showed there earlier. Now I'm trying to log in, which did log me in, but I did not get the admin access. Let's see, admin or 1 = 1 log. Which basically what it does is it says that I'll be explaining it is like using the code. This is the flag when you solve a challenge, you get the flag, right? So this is the flag when you solve a challenge. So this is the code. So don't have to worry about the rest of the code. You can basically see what is happening here. In the select all from users where binary username is equal to leave the binary keyword, which is basically saying use what do you call it? Case sensitivity. So here you user.username is something that I'm directly getting from the user. So username is directly taken from the user, which is insecure because user can provide whatever he wants. What I'm doing is I'm directly putting it into the query and I'm executing this query. So it is basically like, let's say I'm going here. I'll take the SQLite again. So we had this table, right? So this query almost looks like this. Let me copy the query. So you can see this query. So if I take this query, This question mark should be replaced with uh, some password, right? The user provided password and the email, whatever he provides, which is not relevant here because we don't have a email column, and the username or the user. Okay. So this the dollar username, think of it like the user provides the value. So now I am a malicious user or so-called hacker. So what I'm trying to do is now I need permission or like I need access to the website. What I'll do first is, so this is the structure of this query, right? So you have two codes or open and close. So basically, if you open a code, you need to close the code, right? So then only the compiler or the whatever that execute this code will understand. So you are opening a string. So this is the end of the string. So you need to open a code and close the code, right? So here, what if I do this? If I close the code before, like if I put a single code in the application. So basically, wherever the first code comes, the compiler thinks that the first code is the second code is here. So basically, the string ends here. So and it treats the second string as the opening of another string. So that's why you're seeing this and password is equal to in a string. So you know that you can comment with things in the MySQL, right? So which is just double hyphen. So that's what I said. Double hyphen is commenting for programmers, where programmers choose it to explain the code, where we use it to exploit the code. Simple. So here, what happened is, so now I can put whatever user I want, for example, admin. So basically, here now the query is here, and this is basically a comment which compiler will not even look at it because it's a text used to explain to humans what is going on, right? Programmers. So here, and password is basically what checks whether the password matches the password of the user given password matches the password in the database, because the password is what used to identify the user is legit or not legit, like he's the guy who created the account or not, to put it in a simpler terms. So yeah, so since I commented out the code, which basically checks what or checks whether the user is legit or not, now I can just do like, I can try logging as Rohit Prashant, right? Even though I'm Aravind, I can try logging as Rohit Prashant, right? Rohit. Okay. Oh, it's basically user stable does not exist, which is in InCTF, right? My bad. I did not change InCTF. So now if I execute it, you can see Rohit's roll number and user, or this in the first case I explained, the roll number would have been password. So which was used to authenticate the user. And this case, which is what we got, because since I'm an attacker and I don't know what is the password of Rohit, even though I don't know what is the password of Rohit, I just logged in as Rohit. Isn't that amazing? So that is how SQL injection works. Let's move on to the next topic, since now you can boast about this to your friends saying that I know SQL injection, and you can say you are an ethical hacker, not a black hat hacker. If you're curious, you can Google what is black hat hacker. Okay, moving on to the next interesting topic, which is tools or web security tools, which is used to check or test the applications or whatever that you created. Let's say I have a website called example.com. So I have an example.com. Okay. So now I have pulled up the example.com. So which is basically a website, right? So I need to send a request using command line. So who are we? We are ethical hackers, right? So hackers does not use GUI, right? So what do we use then? So we use what? We use terminal. So let's say you need to send a request using terminal, not using a GUI browser or anything. What can you do? You can use something called curl, which is known as CURL. You need to know it's CURL. So this is like CURL, which is called curl. So you can use curl to send request to a web server. So let's say there is this example.com. Let's to make it easier. Let me switch it to okay, my bad. Okay. So cool. CURL. So what does CURL do? CURL is used to send a request to web server. So I have this example.com open right here. So I have this example.com open. So let's say I want to send a request to this example.com. I copied this and I do CURL and I paste this. So what do you think is going to happen? It's basically going to send the request. And do you think it will render it like this? Obviously, we are hackers. We don't need to look like a normal user who is using Geo, right? So you'll get this. You'll get the code or so-called HTML. So yesterday, Rohit would have explained what is dev tools or inspect element. So let's say I want to make sure this is what the xml.com looks like. You can just go to the sources and I'm pretty sure Rohit explained this yesterday. So you can see this is exactly same as this code that is here. But since we are a hacker or in quotes ethical hackers, we are using CURL or curl to send the request using command line. So curl, not only you can send the request like plain request, you can use it to send lot of you can use it to send a request with lot of cool stuff. For example, if I need to send a cookie, I can use -d -c. Right. And then if I need to send a header, I can use -h, which is basically like header. Headers, I think, so header. Okay, -h. I think Rohit would have explained it yesterday. There is something called network tab where you can go here and you can see in the headers, you can see the headers that are being sent, right? So here is this request header and response header. So you can see basically this is here and a lot of headers. I think Rohit would have explained everything. Rohit would have explained everything. So let's say I need to send this request header called user agent. Let's say I need to send user agent. What you can do is you can basically send it using user hyphen agent with a colon and then separating the key value pair. And then you can send the value of it. Simple, right? And whatever the value you want. Let's say the basic, if you are sending a request from curl, the user agent header will be curl and the version of the curl that you send using. And simple. So that is how you use curl to send with header. And let's say cookies. Very interesting topic in web. So I'm pretty sure Rohit would have explained how cookie works as well. So how do you send a cookie? Like I said, you'll use -d. So using -d, you can specify the name and value of that. Let's say I need to send my name and the value is Aravind. So this is the cookie that will get sent to the example.com, which is name is equal to Aravind. So you can uh, see the cookies in the application tab. If I create some cookies and here, which will be basically in this format only. So go to document, document.cookie. You can see this cookie is exactly stored like how this is equal to the way name equal to value, right? So that is what we are doing here. So I think Rohit would have said I will be explaining about same site and same origin. I'll just brief about what is same origin is. So let's say this is the https example.com, right? So how do I know I am sending a request from example.com itself? So if I was able to send a request from this local host to example.com and example.com thinks I'm sending from example.com, it is a big security issue, right? So what browser does is it first looks at the HTTPS or the schema. So here the schema would be different, right? So here the local host The schema would be HTTP. Here, since we are so the HTTPS and HTTP would mismatch. Basically, it is not the same. If you try, you can just look at this and say that HTTPS is not equal to HTTP. So what browser says is, okay, you are not coming from the same schema. So what I'm doing is I'll be blocking this request. The browser will block that request. So if let's say you are sending the request from, both are sending a request from HTTPS, then it goes over to looking at the domain. So what it basically says is, if you are sending it from the same domain, then I'll allow it. So if you can clearly see it is not a same domain, I'm sending it from localhost. So it will also be rejected. And let's say there is something called port as well. If the local example.com, it's okay. Let's say it's running in 443. It's running in 443, right? So, but securely bank is running in 1337. So basically, you can't send a request to the like different port numbers, right? So if the port number mismatches, it will not allow it. So that is basically same origin. What same origin says is you should be coming from the same origin. Simple. So going on. So next we have some GUI application, which is called burp which is called burp So what is burp So burp is a proxy. So to understand what is proxy, let me pull up a whiteboard. Whiteboard. Take whatever comes first. Okay. So what is a proxy? So, okay, what is proxy? So this is your web browser, right? Okay, my drawing skills are very bad. So this is a web browser. Think of it like a web browser, a google.com. Okay, my hand. Okay, what and basically how do you request work? You send a request to the server. Uh, think of it as a server. My bad. Okay, so then you send a request to the server and the server responds that, right? So what is a proxy then? So the same exact case, google.com and a server, but what happens is in between them, there comes something called a proxy or a device or a code or whatever you name it to proxy. So what happens is the browser sends a request to the proxy, which is proxied into the proxy, and then the proxy sends a request to the server, and the server responds back, and that response is proxied through the proxy, and then it reaches the browser. So basically, it's like a middleman sitting in between the request and response. Simple. So next, going ahead, what is a burp suite? So like I explained, the proxy. So here is the proxy. Let me open the browser. Okay. Now we'll do the same thing. We'll do the example.com. I visited example.com. Everything works fine, right? Then where is this proxy thing? For that, you need to intercept this. So basically what it says is the some request is coming through me. I'm intercepting it or catching it for a moment and I'm keeping it. So let's send the example.com request again. So now you can see it is the browser is still loading and the request is caught here. So there is something called repeater in the verb suite, which is used to send the request multiple times or repeat the same request again and again. So what I can do is press Control R, which will basically send it to the repeater. And now you can just keep on sending the request again and again, and you can see there is this render tab where you can see the rendered version of the HTML that is received. You can keep on sending the request, and proxy just intercepted it, right? And another use of proxy is not only you can intercept the request, we can modify the values. Let's say I don't want these headers, I can just select it and you can just remove the header. Right? And now I can forward it to the browser, and you can see simple. So this is what the use of a proxy is. It's simple. Okay, moving ahead, what do we have next? Next, we have PHP. What is PHP? A programming language. Simple, right? Let's start with PHP. Okay, so what is PHP? hypertext preprocessor. I don't know. Just forget that. No need for knowing the reason. Okay. So like I said, PHP is used very widely. You pull up like out of 100, you pull up like 50, 60 websites, which will be written in PHP. So this is a highly used in the website or like web domain. Now, what PHP scripts are initially executed in server side, and the response after the execution it will be sent to the client side. So basically, it's a server side language. And PHP, what is the main like the main use of PHP or like main advantage of using PHP is you can have everything in a single file. You can write PHP code in the single file. You can have the HTML code in the single file, CSS in the same file, JavaScript in the same file, which is why it is widely used, which is why it is very flexible and all. So obviously PHP will have the PHP extension. Let's start by creating a PHP file. I have already created it. So you can see I have this index.php. Don't worry, if you don't have a PHP server, you can Google and find out how to create a like run a PHP server. Okay. Now we have PHP. So how do you write the PHP code? Let's start there. Okay. So how do you write a PHP? So let's start by writing HTML in it. Let's say will the HTML work. So I'm writing HTML here. Let's say I'm giving the title called InCTF, and with a body, hi InCTF. Okay. Now if I go to the website, let me close this. If I refresh, you can see I have hi InCTF here. Okay. So let's say, okay. Now I need to write a PHP code in here. How can I write a PHP code? To first, initially, you need to write, if you want to write a PHP code, you just start off by opening the PHP tag, which is like this. So you need to do open bracket or the lesser than question mark PHP, then question mark, close the PHP. So this is how you write a PHP code. Now that I have opened and closed the PHP tag, I can write PHP code inside it. How do you print a value in PHP? Print, simple. Right? Print whatever you want. Print, let's say I need to print hello instead of hello INCTF. I use HTML to do that. Now I'm using what? PHP to do that. You will not see a difference because both are same INCTF from PHP. Now you can see hello InCTF from PHP. So basically the print, what it does is, those who know Python, I guess you pretty much know what print does. Or there is something called echo, which we pay like as a PHP user, we'll be using it a lot. Echo. Or if you know what a bash script or anything, you will also know what is an echo. So if I both work the same. Like for basic thing, it both works the same. Obviously, if there are two functions, there will be different state. That if you want, you are curious, you can Google it and find out. Okay, going ahead. I will not be covering the bare basics about it. Let's look at the big things that everybody finds it interesting. So these are something called super global variables. So if you want to know what is a global variable is something that is accessible throughout the code. There is something called local scope and global scope, which is basically if you define a function and then you define a variable inside it, the variable only can be accessed from the inside the function. So what a global variable basically means is if you define the global variable, you can basically access it anywhere from the same file or the code. So what is super global then? Super globals are super global because they are one step above the global. Now, so super global are basically predefined or pre-written by the PHP, and the PHP gives it by the default. When you write a PHP code, you don't have to define a super global variable get, super global variable this. It is pre-written or pre-given to you by PHP. PHP makes our life easier. So let's start by looking what is a post. Okay, let's start with the get. Rohit Prashant would have explained what is get and post. So let's start with what is a get. So from the name itself, you can see that it basically says whatever the get request giving, whatever value is given in the get request, I will store it in me. So let's say I have, there is something called is set. So we'll be using a if statement. If is set. So what is is set? Is set basically says if the variable is set or not. It basically compares the value with null. And if it is null, which is not set. And if it is not null, it is set. Simple. Is set. The name itself says that. So in a set, I'll be passing the get parameter or get super global variable and saying I'm accessing the array value called hi, which is basically sent with the get request. If it is set, what I am going to do is I'll be echoing it out. Echo $_ get hi. So let's say I need to do this. Okay. Now my website would be empty. Nothing, right? So let's send some value to it. So how do you send a value with get request? Get parameter. So get parameters, you can do question mark hi, which is what I'm expecting them. Hi is equal to hello in CTF again. Okay. I'm from get. Okay. Spelling mistake. Leave spelling mistake. I'm from get. Okay. That is what I'm trying to say. Okay. Okay. Now you can see hello, I'm CTF. I'm from get. Okay. Doesn't matter. The spelling doesn't matter. This is the basic idea. So whatever data is sent using the get request will be stored in the get super global variable. So then from the same idea, we can guess what is a post super global variable is. So which is just a request using post request has a form value called hi. So how can you send that? So we have something called curl, right? Curl can send post request as well. So let's open the terminal and let's use curl to send it. Curl localhost 138 and how will you specify the value? Hyphen d. With the d, I'll be specifying hi is equal to curl. Let's send this. And here in the body, you can see there is something called I am curl. So that is how you basically send a post request. Okay. Post. Okay. This is the correct way to sending a post request. I don't know how it works previously, but this is the correct way to sending a post request to curl. Okay, moving ahead. What do we have next? We have server super global variable. Before that, we'll look at the cookie. Cookies. Everybody loves cookies. Okay, how do we create a cookie in PHP? So if post say hi is there, what will I do? Okay, let's say get underscore get hi is there. What can I do is set cookie. So there is this function called set underscore cookie. Set underscore set cookie. Sorry, no underscore. My bad. Set cookie, which you can specify the value and the name of the cookie. So initially, we'll be passing the name. Okay, hi, and the value will be InCTF, and the rest of it you can skip or you can give if you want. And then I can just send the request hi. This okay. Now if I look at the request in the network tab, in the headers, you can see there is something called set cookie header. It just sets the, to make it simple, you can go to the application and you can see there will be this hi in CTF. Simple. Okay. Next, what do we have next? We have server. Let's start with server. So how do you access, what is the server super global variable? You know what is a get super global variable, right? Then you can guess from the name, server super global variable will have everything related to the server. So let's say I told you guys how to send a header using curl, right? So let's say I am sending a custom header Let's say I'm sending a custom header hyphen h and let's say InCTF. Okay, InCTF colon whatever value. Hello. Okay, so basically, uh, you can send the InCTF colon hello, which we will be getting it from the client side or sorry, server side. So how will you let me explain. Server. So echo dollar. Let's see. There is something called var dump. There is something called var dump. Okay, hold on. So something called var dump, which basically dumps the all values in a associate array. Okay, how do you do that? So let's see what is inside the dollar underscore server. Okay, so if I go to the web server and reload it, I should basically see whatever value is in there. So you can see there are a lot of things here. For example, you have the HTTP cookie, which has the high InCTF cookie that I sent, and whatever the values that I have sent. So basically, let's say I'm sending the request using InCTF hello. Okay, I did not set the question mark hello. Question mark 5 equal to hello. HTTP. Okay. Now you get the whole thing, right? It's much more readable than the GUI, basically. Yeah. So you can see there is my file. Yeah, you can see the high is here, right? So basically it contains the or like no here HTTP in CTF, which has the hello that I sent. So basically you can just append a HTTP underscore and whatever the header value you want, you can access all the header values that is being sent using the whatever request. So let's say I need to echo and the value is dollar underscore server and the name is HTTP underscore the custom header that I sent in CT. Okay. Now let's go to the website and refresh. Okay, the header is not being sent here, right? My bad. Which is sent using. Good. So now you can see the InCTF hello is shown here. So basically that's how you access values in header using server super global variable. So what do we have next? Next we have sessions. So basically, why do you need session is HTTP does not know who is this user or who is this user. It is basically stateless. So what you can say is it does not remember the names of the guys who visits him. So he has amnesia, something like that. So HTTP, what we does is we store something called session as a cookie, so that HTTP or the client side can recognize you when you come back again. So it's basically like a note that you are writing in a paper, a piece of paper saying that I am this, don't forget me to an amnesia patient, something like that. So how do you create a session? How do you create a session? So initially you need to do something called session start. So when you are doing session start, you should remember PHP sends the header before the HTML code is started, because PHP first executes the code and gets the renders it, right? So first what you need to do is do session start in the starting of the code. You don't have to put it in between the HTML code. You need to put it above the HTML code. Session start underscore start, and you basically what it says is start the session handling program. Basically, it starts the session. And how do you store a session? So if I same logic. What I do is I'll keep the previous code. Okay. You can have multiple PHP tags. I forgot to mention. You can have multiple PHP tags around the code. And now, if the get high is set, or let's make it more interesting. Let's say if the dollar underscore server HTTP InCTF. Okay, one bracket. I missed a bracket. Okay, I guess I still missed a bracket. Okay, yeah. Okay. Now, if the InCTF header is set, what we basically do is we'll whatever value that HTTP InCTF is having, we'll store it in a we store it as a session. So basically, okay. So let's do dollar session. So again, there is something called session super global variable. So here, what I can do is I can store the user as the value of dollar server and HTTP, sorry, HTTP underscore INCTF. Right. Now it what basically it does is it basically stores the session user here. Let's see if the user session is set, which basically says that you are already logged in. So now if I go to if is set dollar underscore session user, if it is set, it basically means that you are logged in. So it will say echo hello user, you are logged in. Okay, let me put the semicolon. Now let's go to the curl and send a post request to the same website without this hyper. Now you can see I got logged in. Why do I got logged in? Because I sent the INCTF hello header. So if you want to make sure what you are, then you can say hello user and the name. That you can do by putting dollar underscore session and then the user. Simple. Dollar dot and close it. Simple, right? So now if I go to the curl and do the same, you can see I am logged in as hello user hello because I send the request with hello, right? What if I send the request with Rohit? It will basically say hello Rohit, you are logged in. So this is how you basically handle a session in PHP. So I guess I covered everything. So thank you. I hope you all like today's session. Tomorrow we'll be starting with crypto tomorrow or whatever the next session, Monday. Then Monday we'll be starting with crypto. Thank you.